Washington at Maryland. We were like, what games do we want to preview this week? This game caught my eye. Malik Washington. Demon Williams. Like, are these two top half quarterbacks in the Big Ten, CD?
Yeah. Ooh. I think by the end of the year, absolutely. I think Demon Williams for sure is. Washington has been incredible. I do. It's like we got to take a step back. It's been Wisconsin, FAU, a couple other teams that have not looked great defensively or in really any other category as well, um, especially for Wisconsin there. But yeah, these are a couple of dynamic quarterbacks, guys that can actually elevate their football teams, can make or break plays, can give the respective defense coordinators absolute nightmares when you do everything right, and they can still scamper for a first down on third down there. Washington, too. I mean, dynamics, I think, matter in this football game. What Maryland's coming off of a bye. Washington is coming off of a tough spot, a tough loss, a physical football game against Ohio State, where they have to now go on the road across the country about as far as you can go in the Big Ten and go play Maryland. I think that matters. I think that does. You're going to be playing what's essentially like a noon kickoff for you at Washington with the Pacific time zone change. Yeah, I mean, I hate to say this. I think in the beginning of the year, if you gave me Washington at 5.5, I would be runting and sprinting up to the podium to get that done. For whatever reason, I'm taking Maryland here just because of how they've looked. You talked about Washington. Defensively, they've been impressive as well. I understand that Wisconsin is not a good football team, but you went into Madison and you took care of business against them, which was really, really impressive. I think Washington needs to figure some things out offensively. Like defensively, I think Ohio State started to lean on them once they let Sayan kind of go and get after him. They had a couple red zone, mistakes there. Both teams did, so it could have been more high scoring than it was out there in Seattle this past weekend. But I'll give Maryland a chance to cover here. I'll take them at plus 5.5. I think Washington wins the close one, but I'll go Maryland plus 5.5.
Yeah, something that I did not account for this year. I took Maryland's over last year. All right, and you know why I did that? Because I'm like, I think they have enough on offense. Well, one, I didn't actually think Billy Edwards was going to start for them, but actually it ended up not being the reason that they were as bad as they were last year. Defense. They got spanked last year at times, and it was brutal. So far this year, right? You haven't played like great offensive teams. I will say I was impressed, right? FAU. I know Zach Kitley is a really good coach. Caden Veldkamp can sling the rock. Ethan Messer is also a good player over there. You haven't played great offensive teams, but so far you've been impressed with the defense. Is that going to continue into this game? Are you going to really find out what this defense is actually made of? I think probably yes. I'll fade you here. I'll go Washington minus 5.5. I don't feel great about it because, like you said, traveling across the country is a massive deal. Massive deal. But this would be a huge win for Mike Locksley. Like, imagine you go like into this game, you win this, then you're 5-0. You get Nebraska at home, then UCLA. I'm not saying you can make a run at this whole Big Ten thing, but in terms of like Mike Locksley continuing his tenure at Maryland, like this was as important of a start as you could possibly get, right? And this is not necessarily what you expected, right? Because obviously Maryland was like 10-point underdogs or close to 10-point underdogs last week. I think they closed at 10-point underdogs, but opened at like 8.5 point underdogs to Wisconsin. Or sorry, excuse me, 2 weekends ago. But I think that there's a quarterback advantage in Washington. I think there's a coaching advantage in Washington. I think Washington's defense, despite Maryland metrically checking out, I think Washington's defense is potentially better. I think there's a lot of reasons on paper why it would make sense to be laying these points with Washington. But like you said, traveling across the country is never easy.
Especially, I will say too, I'm excited to see this Maryland football team off a bye. I think you get the true freshman, you get his feet wet in the out of conference, And the month of September, you get a bye week and you get a chance to really open the playbook up for Malik Washington. That's what I'm expecting to see for Mike Locksley, a guy that is, make no mistake, even though you're 4-0, fantastic, you're still coaching for your job. You talked about it, how big a win this would be. Open the playbook up for your true freshman quarterback. And I will say, to play devil's advocate to my point, Washington's playbook and Demon Williams, they will look a lot better. It will look a lot different than it did against Ohio State. It just the problems that they cause defensively for your offense, it shrinks your playbook. You just have a really hard time. You saw the struggles in the red zone and what that kind of defense in Patricia and the freaking athletes they have there does for you. Nonetheless, though, you talked about at the beginning, these quarterbacks looking forward to a fantastic game.